Yeah, good afternoon. Hope you guys had a good break and a lunch. My name is Noel, and I'm actually doing research for quite some time at Forrester. I speak to a lot of customers on a regular basis, the Fortune 1000 companies across the environments, healthcare and oil and gas and financial services. So I speak to quite a few customers every day, actually. And they complain about all these kind of things, about data and analytics, which are so challenging today than ever before. I want to start off with one of the surveys we recently conducted. This is a September 2022 survey. We asked the customers, like, what are the biggest challenges in executing your vision on data management strategies? So what would you think is the biggest challenge? Anyone? Not surprising, right? Maturity of technology around security. and guess what? This has been around for a decade. Every year we hear a lot about security, because compliances are putting pressure on organizations. You got data governance issues, you got data security challenges. The data is all over the place, right? In terms of the data lives everywhere now. But what's interesting is that we also see another data point, which is called the maturity of technology around data management, which is interesting as well. This is the first time ever we have seen that people complaining about maturity of technology around data management. Isn't that strange? We have been doing data management for 60 years. And now we're saying still maturity of technology is not there. Isn't that strange? And why is that the case, right? It's because of the fact that we got data all over the place now, on-premises, the cloud, the edges, the multi-cloud. We got multiple data types, structured, unstructured, semi-structured data. We got volumes running into petabytes. We got low latency access requirements. We need to do real-time analytics quickly, right, faster. In fact, the industry's been talking about real-time analytics for more than 2 decades. But we still aren't there yet, which is very interesting. So what are the data management challenges most organizations are running into? Well, you can see the list. It's actually, I don't want to go through all the list. We can spend the whole day on this. But it's a volume explosion. By the way, only less than 3% of enterprises have petabytes of data. Very important point. So discussion, petabytes, but question is, who's the organization having petabytes, right? It's very, very few. 97% of the people don't have petabytes, just to be clear, right? In fact, one of the banks called me up. They're saying we got big data, we got all this analytical data, and we got data issues, management issues. How do you manage this? And I asked them, like, how much data do you have? They're saying 6 terabytes. Like, whoa, 6 terabytes is like 6 iPhones together, right? So people think, big data and all these things in a different sense. Silos of data is there, on-premises, the cloud. 80% of the world's transactions are still running on-premises, not the cloud. Unless you're Uber and Airbnb, which is running in the cloud. A lot of banks is on-premises. Healthcare, on-premises for transaction processing. So what is running in the cloud? Analytics, insights, operational insights, or new generation of transaction processing requirements like the Ubers and Airbnbs of the world. Data quality issues are a nightmare right now. We can't do real-time data quality at the moment in the industry. If the data is going to be there, you can be supporting it perfectly fine. But it takes 4 to 6 weeks on an average to resolve data quality issues. 4 to 6 weeks to resolve data quality issues. Isn't that a nightmare? We got all these kind of agility issues, consistency issues, security issues going on quite a lot as well. Interestingly, 51% are buying and selling data, commercializing data. Guess what? This will be 100% in the next decade. Everyone is going to buy and sell data on the planet. Every organization is going to do that. So 51% is doing it today. This number is going to double in the next 10 years. But what do you do with data, right? You can do all kinds of things, right? Innovation, you can deliver new products, you can obviously expand markets, increase revenues, and what have you. We got about 65 zettabytes of data. I think a zettabyte is like 21 zeros. It probably won't fit my iPhone, I think. But that's a lot of data. And the data is all over the place now. We got on-premises, we got cloud, we got multi-cloud, we got the edges as well, right? And this creates a bigger opportunity for organizations to leverage data. People do not leverage data. That's what we see. Interestingly, 85% want to improve the use of data insights in decision making. This is kind of interesting. This is one of the things which we're seeing companies mentioning that, hey, I as an organization want to improve my insights, 85%. But 91% are reporting that improving use of data insights is very challenging. So that's very scary, actually, because the fact that it's so difficult to use data or improve their use of insights. In fact, most companies only have a small portion of data used for analytics today. Only on average, 25% of data is used for analytics. 75% is not used. And why? Because of many reasons. Lack of understanding about data, semantics. People don't have a clue. I'm going to the cloud. Yes, you're going to the cloud. But do you know what data you're putting in the cloud? No. And this is a big challenge. People are rushing to the cloud and storing that. Semantics plays a big role. Understanding the data plays a big role. For the next 5-10 years, you're going to be seeing this. Many vendors that are going to be talking about this is semantics. Because data is okay. Like, what do you do with the data? How do you get customer insights, customer 360, fraud detection, IoT, right? Strong data controls minimizes access as well. So a lot of people actually have a lot of strong governance and controls in organizations, which really slows you down, right? And this is something which we've seen organizations telling us all day long, I guess. Lack of visibility in systems, workflows, applications, lack of right tooling to leverage new data sources, duplication of data. More than 30% of data in an organization is duplicated on an average. Some people say it's like 70%. But more than 30% of data is duplicated. You make copies and copies of data. And that actually becomes a very big challenge for organizations out there, right? And data management is the core for any successful strategy, right? If you look at it, what is data management, by the way, right? People say, like, what is data management? Data management is the curation, the ingestion, pipelining, security, preparation. You probably hear that all the technology industries out there talking about this, right? I'm doing pipeline. I'm doing security. I'm doing integration. I'm doing master data management. I'm doing curation. But without data, you can't do any of those things, right? AI, machine learning, applications, blockchain. Without data, it's useless. Your machine learning models won't be built without data. And so data management is the most important element, what we see out there. Okay, so coming into the future of data management, 5 areas I'm going to talk about, only 5 areas. There are more than 25 areas. You can see the white dots. These are the areas which I will probably talk about it next time around. But the 5 I wanted to talk about it today was these areas: end-to-end data management, use case-driven data management, global data management, converged data platforms, and AI-enabled data management. So, if you look at it, in certain countries, if you go, you may see a traffic jam like this, right? And this is not surprising. right? And once you get stuck, you probably get stuck. You're not able to back out so easily. And this is where enterprises are today, with all the tools they have, with all of the technologies they have. Once they commit to a product and technology, there's no turning back. And it can also make a bigger issue of integration, orchestration. There's lack of standards today in data management. Lack of standards, which still exist. Proprietary metadata. One product from one vendor does not talk to another product's metadata. And who's fixing those issues? SIs, right? Systems integrators. And siloed policies are making a big challenge. Most organizations have more than 24 data management tools. Not surprising. If you are in one of the organizations, I'm sure you're running into these issues. Separate tool for data management. For data quality, separate tool. Data preparation, separate tool. Data governance, separate tool. Data, security, separate tool. Data catalog is separate tool. Who's integrating them? SIs. SIs that make the most money in the cloud. Who's making the most money? It's not AWS. It's not Google. It's not Microsoft. It's SIs that are making most money. Because of this issue. Very important point. Because all of the hyperscalers are just giving you hardware and software. But what about semantics? Who brings all these things together? SIs. Very important point. So where are we heading towards the industry? An end-to-end integrated data management solutions will drive the next generation deployments to accelerate those use cases. End-to-end data management, which means the ingestion, the transformation, the governance, the security, the preparation, the catalog, the quality, all together in a single platform, as opposed to having it disparated or siloed. Some technologies you see is like data fabric, data virtualization, data management for analytics, data mesh. Some of these technologies are emerging right now. Data fabric is one of the technologies which is a platform which is basically providing you a semantic layer above the sources of data. And this is very important because this integration is a nightmare for organizations, whether it's financial services, banks, insurance companies, retailers, healthcare, oil and gas, any of the guys are having a bigger issue in integrating. And that's why we are seeing this trend. Like, why should we have separate tools? Let's have a consolidated tool. And this is industry is moving towards for the last few years. For the next 5, 10 years, you're going to see this trend evolving further. By the way, I speak to 400 vendors on a daily basis, just to let you know. But obviously, you can't do all of those guys together. Use case-driven management is something which we have seen evolving. It is basically, most organizations are lagging when it comes to supporting modern use cases. Like this example here. If Customer 360 takes me 8 months, I might as well take a vacation. Today, it takes about 6 to 12 months to do a Customer 360. People want this Customer 360 to be done in about a week. But we are not there yet. The industry is not there yet. We'll be there next 5 years to 10 years. We can do Customer 360 in a week. But right now, it's obviously a struggle because you have all of the moving parts together to driving those things. So we have seen a solutions coming up called the use case-driven data management. And this is a big trend. You'll see all these use case-driven solutions are coming together in a single platform. Whether you're doing customer data platform, IoT data platform, data sharing, data collaboration, and what have you, right? And what are the capabilities around that? It's got built-in data management. It's got templates. It's got use case-focused scenarios. It's got connectors to social media, to IoT data, to other types of data sources. It's got integration, administration. And the key benefits, I guess, is the time to value is more faster than what you've done in the past. It's more integrated. It's more orchestrated. It's more self-service. And also lower cost as well. So this is something which we see happening with a use case-driven data management. You're going to see a lot more solutions coming in the industry around these areas. And why? Because you want to accelerate those deployments right away. You don't want to wait 6 months from now. Okay, global data management is a very interesting topic as well. We got data now distributed across all the globe. And data management challenges are from security to quality to integration to governance. People want low latency access to data across all the globe, right? And this is something so difficult to do, especially when data is on-premises, multi-cloud, multiple edges. And this is something which we see happening as well. So the trend we see is a global data platform that will drive a strategy for companies as well. And what is mean by global data platform is a platform that can actually do the single pane of the glass for management, for administration, for data access as well. And this is huge because you're able to provide the metadata, the data, the constructs across different regions, whether it's Europe, Asia Pacific, North America, and also provide a single consistent view of data. So over the next 5-7 years, you're going to see a lot more traction around this global data platform from a management, from an administration perspective, from an access perspective, to get better data quality, better transformation, administration, and also governance as well. Now, this is going to be evolving over a period of time because obviously there's low latency access, there's a requirement of what kind of consistency of data is there, right? Because there's always a network latencies between data centers, as you know. But this is something which we are seeing evolving quite a lot as well. The converged data platform is something which we are seeing a bigger trend as well across different organizations, deployment as well. Today, we got too many platforms which are slowing down the business operations. If you look at it, we got relational databases, we got transactional databases, we got operational databases, we got analytical systems, we got lake houses, we got data lake, we got data warehouses, and all of these really slow you down, right? Because if you want to do modern architecture, design, these are not the best examples of these scenarios, right? It increases the cost, increases the administration effort, and you're not able to be agile as well. People always ask us, like, how do we do more real-time analytics? Because the data moves from transactional systems to the operational systems to the analytical systems, and then it comes to the Tableau dashboard. It comes 24 hours later, right? So how do we get this quicker and faster? And this is a big challenge because of the fact that actually you can't really drive those results quicker and faster, right? So converged data platforms will become a critical for organizations, and one example is multi-model data platforms. And what is multi-model? Well, you can do spatial data, relational data, graph data, document data in a single platform. Why do we need to make 4 different API calls to 4 different stores? Why can't we just make one single call to one data store? Like if you're building microservices, and if you're a developer, you have all the APIs, you're going to make a call to one document store separate, and one to spatial data or relational data. And that actually leads to inconsistency of data, right? So that's why we're seeing multi-model data platforms emerge more recently to have a single platform for doing all kinds of data. Because if you look at all this data, graph data, relational data, spatial data, document data, are all business data. It's all business-related data. Why should we separate them out? Like you don't have 3 phones, structured data phone, I got an unstructured data phone, and I got a semi-structured data phone. No. So this is a big trend. Today, we believe, close to about 15% of the enterprises are doing multimodal. This number is going to double in the next 2-3 years as we see it. So it's a single platform for all data types and data models. The second one, which you guys are in this conference called the HTAP, which is the big trend, we call it transanalytical, transactional and analytical together. So Forrester term is transanalytical. We used this term 7 years ago. 7 years ago, we started this terminology called transanalytical, and a lot of customers are doing transanalytical, which means that operational, transactional, analytical systems could all run in a single database. That's what HTAP is all about, right? Why should we move data around when we can run all these together? Now, the question is, why today? Why not 5-10 years ago? Right? What's changed? Well, it's because of memory. DRAM is cheaper today, right? DRAM was very expensive 5-10 years ago, as you guys know that, right? And flash and SSD. You can buy today terabytes of flash and SSD in a few dollars, right? It's less expensive. So putting everything into memory is what this is all about. Low latency access to updates and changes. You can run analytics at the speed of transactions as opposed to moving data around. There's no data movement going on. And this is a big thing. And I believe today this adoption is close to about 17 to 18% of adoption of transanalytical HTAP, but this number is going to double in the next 2 years because we get a lot of inquiries from financial services, retailers, healthcare, talking about this. And basically, what it does, the HTAP, is collapsing the stack of data stack to have a common data platform. You don't need separate platforms for. I'm going to run analytics there, operational there, transactional there. Like, why do you need 3 platforms, right? One single platform is good enough. And this is a big trend, as I mentioned. Real time is all workload, right? Lowers the cost, self-service, agile, and this is a big thing in the industry. This is changing the way, because today what's happening is analytics. Think about analytics. How do you run analytics? Is that you got to move data from transactional to the operational to the analytical, and it comes to a dashboard, it's 24 hours late. How do we get it in a second? 1 second, right? And that's exactly the whole idea, that we don't need to have these 3 different platforms as such. Okay, number 5 is around AI-enabled data management. We are seeing today is that data management has become more complex and time-consuming across all these different scenarios with growing data volumes, new data sources, data types, with modeling and all these things. People are spending a lot of time and effort trying to manage their data. From a monitoring perspective, from a security perspective, from a preparation perspective, administration perspective, and this becomes a more challenging. I think in every organization I speak to, they're saying our project will take us 6 months and a year. Like, why is it taking 6 months and a year, right? And this is a big thing. We are going to see more automation around this as well. So what we are seeing is the trend is AI machine learning driven data management is going to drive the next generation of solution. And when I say AI machine learning, there are 2 sides of a coin. One side, you're going to see more about building machine learning models for customer data, business data, right? That's what machine learning model is all about. But second is also AI machine learning from a platform perspective as well. The platform knows the intelligence of data. It knows that, by the way, you got the data coming into the platform, it's got sensitive data. It knows that this data coming in has got PII, PHI data automatically. And this is a big thing, because right now we are coding this in Java, JavaScript, Python, Perl, which is crazy. Right? Why are we coding that? Why can't the platform take care of this automatically as well? Right? And this is where the industry is moving towards. The intelligence in the platform, which knows what data is coming in, what data needs to be integrated, orchestrated as well. What about data quality? Data quality also automatically detecting data which is bad data and improving on the data as well, automatically as well, right? And I think this is the areas we're going to see a lot of innovation in the industry in the coming years. We are still very early on in terms of intelligence. I think only 20-25% of the journey in terms of intelligence. We still have about 75% innovation left in the industry to do. So this is a big thing. But I would say semantics plays a big role. Semantics. Semantics something is where you need to know what data you're trying to integrate, orchestrate, especially catalogs are playing a big role to understand what data needs to be integrated for customer data or IoT data or insights data. And this is something which we're going to see more and more as well. So this is something which is evolving as well in terms of the industry. All right, with that, I would like to thank you guys.
We have time for a little bit of Q&A if there's any questions.
Questions?
No questions?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Speak into it? Is that? Okay. So yeah, I've heard you speak before, by the way. Nice presentation. And
Thanks.
I think it was probably a year ago where I worked for PingCAP, by the way, full disclosure, where we had a conversation with you. And this is really the first time that I had heard the term trans-analytical.
Oh, finally.
And it took me a while to wrap my head around it,
Yeah.
but it made sense. It was still similar concepts of putting OLTP and OLAP together, transactions and analytical. So you said that this kind of hit for the first time, what, 7 years ago, roughly?
Yeah. So Forrester wrote about the transanalytical about 7 years ago, yeah.
So at the time, I mean, that's before even distributed SQL came along. You know, for the most part, you had Spanner in development by Google. But I think that was pretty much all that was out there. You said some of the companies were actually doing transanalytical. My curiosity is, how were they doing that, given the constraints on the technology 7 years ago?
Back then. Well, you know, back then there were certain databases that were supporting those environments. And I think this is the point I was mentioning earlier. The amount of data which people have isn't huge for most of these transanalytical environments. These are generally, most transanalytical environments today on the planet, I would say 95% are less than 5 terabytes. Very important point. Now, why is that the case? Because it has to be low latency in memory, in DRAM, and flash. But certainly, this is going to be changing in the coming years. I would say previously, back 7 years ago, there were technologies which were doing multiple of these in a single platform itself. It's a way of architecting this, but also what kind of capabilities you have, like built-in database analytics is some of these functions which are there in the database, like if you're doing aggregation, summarization of data, right? I can remember, like, when I'm booking a flight from San Francisco to New York, you can book a flight and it'll say, by the way, you can get it for $500. Perfectly fine. When I click on the button, it says, sorry, the price just went up. Okay, what happened? Because it was hitting operational systems, not transactional system, and that is the scary part. You lost a customer here because you don't have a single platform, right? And that's an example of those things. So I would say certainly there is these technologies which have been evolving. Today, I think they are more broader scaled technologies, to your point, for transanalytical, because it can go scale out, scale up, and scale out as well. Multiple nodes in a cluster could be configured. Plus, you have low latency access to data. The bigger challenge, I think, is the industry is that low latency across data centers and clouds, which means if you have data in Europe and Asia and US, the latency on the data is always going to be there, right? And that's something which we see happening. And then trying to do consistency of data around that model it can be a nightmare itself, as you know it, right? So yeah. But yeah, we see, as I mentioned, 17 to 18% adoption of translytical today. This number is going to double, as I mentioned, in about 2-3 years, based on the inquiries we've been getting on this topic. We are currently doing a Forrester Wave on translytical as well, so it's kind of interesting. But this market actually is just ready to grow. This will disrupt traditional database market. This will disrupt. Why? Because traditionally we have been thinking we need to have separate transactional and separate operational and separate analytical. It does not make sense. And then why? Because we've been talking about real-time analytics we need to do. But the question is, how can you do that? If your data is not in a warehouse, sorry, you're out of luck. You can't do analytics, right? Just like some of the data warehouses. You have to move data to the ETL, replicate, CDC, stream it, pipeline it into your warehouse, and then you can do analytics. That's too late. And so this market is just, it's going to explode. The HTAP market, we believe, is going to explode in the coming years, so. Yeah, sure, thanks.
Hey, thanks so much for the presentation. I think you hit the nail on the head with the translytical prediction 7 years ago. We see that happening now. But how about the multimodal? I think that's a...
Very good question.
Is it one of those predictions that is going to happen in the future, or do you already see examples of these?
You hit on the nail on the head as well. We are seeing the convergence of these platforms. So eventually, multimodal is going to have a head-on collision with translytical. This is not happening today, but it's going to happen in the coming years. And because you don't need a separate multimodal platform and a separate translytical platform, no. It's going to be, so the global platform, the translytical platform, the multimodal platform is going to be converging in the coming years. And because, in fact, we are doing the Forrester evaluation of translytical, and multimodal is the criteria. No surprises there. It's a criteria already there. So we're going to see this convergence happening. But multimodal adoption is about 15%. It's growing. I think microservices applications are the ones which are really driving the value proposition of multimodal, because you can do graph engines, document engines, and key value store, and spatial and time series in a single platform, which I think is very, very strong, especially when you need these platforms to driving some of those industrial use cases. So we're going to see a trend, to answer your question, the combination of these multimodal and translytical converging together in the next, it started almost like 12 months from, 12 to 24 months, we're going to see that happening. Yeah. Cool. Any questions? Pretty cool.
I have one question.
No,
so you were talking about the lock-in. A lot of companies are locked into applications and database platforms. So any suggestions or advice of how they can do evaluations or get out of something like that?
Evaluation of,
Newer technologies, newer databases, newer applications.
How to get advantage of that, take advantage of that, those models, you say?
Yeah, how do you advise customers that are stuck using older legacy hardware, databases, applications? Like, how do they even begin to start, to get out of that?
It's
modernizing.
Yeah. Modernization is not. You can't do it in a vacuum. You got to do it in a piecemeal. You got to start looking at the low-hanging fruit as to which applications are the ones which are really important from a availability perspective, from a low latency perspective, from a value perspective, and you start from there. Like translytical is not really going to start to replace every database right away. We believe 25% of your databases could be replaced with translytical HTAP today, right away. Not 75%, not the other 75%. Eventually, that 75% will come in the next coming years. But there's a low-hanging fruit. And the ones which is the more important is the customer intelligence, customer 360, customer experience, the IoT, analytics, which needs to be done low latency access. There's also the things around fraud detection. fraud detection has to be happen like in seconds and milliseconds. You can't move data around, because by the time you move data around, it's too late. That's why transanalytical people are doing, some of the transanalytical use cases are the fraud detection. Some of the things are around the customer experience, customer intelligence. When you're doing a shopping at your e-commerce site, automatically pops up a window that, hey, you can buy this. This is all decision making in seconds, and that's what really matters a lot. So I would say, I would encourage customers who are using some of the platforms which are really needing those low latency access and availability of data are the ones to target, I guess, so, yeah. All right. Any last questions before we close, wrap?